What's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of old cars, dilapidated trucks or rickety scooters? Is it the discomfort? Is it noisy engines? Or is it just a bunch of old metalwork rotting away in a scrapyard? Well, not if you're Tarun Thakral.
The 51-year-old entrepreneur decided to take his passion for collecting vintage automobiles to the next level when he built India's first and only transport heritage museum in Gurgaon. Spread across 90,000 square feet, the museum has 4 floors, housing exhibits from vintage cars to pre-mechanized transports.
And if you're still wondering where I am and what I'm doing, fasten your seatbelts because I'll be taking you on a journey along with Tarun about the history of Indian transportation. This place is truly fascinating. It embodies the love a man has for his machines. For someone like you who's so obsessed with automobiles, especially that are from a whole different generation, how do you describe the emotional connection that you have with automobiles?
I was out of the country for a few years. So there was nothing per se that I was interested in automobiles. When I came back, I started developing this interest in old things. So I started collecting old lamps, old oil lamps, old gramophone players, old radios. Suddenly I came across one ramshackle car, a 1932 Chevy in Rajasthan. Something in me, kicked an interest in me, and I bought this to Delhi and started restoring it. It took me about 2 years to completely restore that car and put it back on the roads. As though you've given life to somebody, So that feeling, I think, triggered something in me, and that started a collection of vehicles.
The museum has several lithographs, rare albumen prints, old postcards and books on the modes of transportation in India. It even has vintage vehicle advertisements from old Indian newspapers and magazines.
From collecting stamps on Indian transportation to restoring the Fiat Padmini in 1980 or the Ambassador, you've preserved a large part of the Indian automobile heritage. How well did you enjoy this process?
I love collecting, okay? I love discovering. It's like a discovery. Whenever you go to old towns, smaller towns, you find something unique about India, about India's transport heritage, you like to acquire it. Cars is one section of it. So whether you see an Ambassador or an old scooter with sidecar, or a Fiat, or a Badal for that matter, or a Standard Herald, you wanted to just get them.
Each automobile here has its own story to tell. Can you take us through some of your most prized possessions, like the J3C Piper Cub aircraft that was actually used to train pilots for World War II?
There was this auction by the UP government, Ministry of Civil Aviation in Lucknow, for the Piper aircraft, although it didn't have the flying license because that was expired. So I said, no, I'm going to definitely bid for it. My bid was 2.72 lakhs, a meager sum of 2.72 lakhs. Unfortunately, there was another gentleman who would bid 2.85 lakhs, but his procedure of bidding, which was specified in the contract, was not correct. So his bid was cancelled, and my bid was the highest. So that's how I won that aircraft.
The oldest exhibit in the museum is a toy from the Indus Valley civilization that was made way back in 1500 BC.
I'm very sure that there's a lot more than what meets the eye when you look at all these automobiles here. Tell us how tedious is the restoration process, and is it just pure passion for automobiles, or is there also a sense of pride attached with bringing an old automobile back to life?
No, it's actually a fun process if you're passionate about things. We wanted whosoever comes here has a story of his own. The other thing with transportation is you get emotionally connected, as I mentioned earlier. My first car, my first scooter. So it's a very emotional kind of a thing. And there is something in transportation, no matter how many times you've taken a plane and flown, okay? Whenever an aircraft takes off or lands, we still marvel at that piece of engineering that it's, taking off. Or if we see a vintage car on the road, automatically our heads turn around to see that.
And Tarun, who has managed to collect gems like the Chevrolet Phaeton 1932 and the Ford Deluxe Wagon 1946, finally revealed his top-guarded secret.
This is a top secret, okay? The top secret is I was single. I didn't get married. So whatever money I earned, I actually spent on my collection. I was able to pursue my hobby to the fullest without anybody, pointing out that they're spending too much of money or spending too much of time.
In an age where automobile enthusiasts identify themselves as petrol heads and there's so much rapid technological innovation happening in the automobile space, how do you plan on maintaining the legacy of vintage medium in automobiles? And what do you think of the current vintage scenario in India?
See, currently the vintage automobile market is facing a lot of stress, I should say, because of the NGT. They have unilaterally banned all vehicles which are 15 years of age on the roads. So we are fighting that case. We've requested them to give us permission to drive our cars on Sundays or on public holidays. At least the cars should be moving, they should keep moving. So that helps them, help engines in good condition, the brakes in good condition and all that.
American novelist Candace Bushnell once famously said, "I love things that are old and glittery, that come with layers of glamour and past lives." After looking at all these wonderful machines here, I couldn't agree more with her on preserving our past.